Okay, so what's going on with the MoodTuner? What you have is a box with speakers, an LCD display, and a few LEDs. Originally, the idea was this entire enclosure would be used to also show a message using the LCD display, showing what playback state you were in. And if you go back to the source code, you'll see an example of what I'm talking about. And originally, galvanic skin response was going to be my analog input in. I'll talk a little bit about why neither one of those are true now. Let me spin this around and show you what's going on. So I had the back open during the demo because if I close it, I get so much RF noise you can't really hear what's going on. But let's take a look at what's going on. Okay, let me give you some light. So what you have is an Arduino Mega with an Adafruit Music Maker shield strapped on top of it. The analog potentiometer wires that I showed before are plugged into this breadboard here, which is what I'm using for the analog signal to pick up the state there. You can see the LCD backpack strapped to the front here, and this is a custom. It's basically a LED breadboard that I soldered up to make the LEDs work. All of these are wired in. The LEDs are wired in through a general purpose IOs in the Music Maker shield. The Music Maker actually controls those outputs and inputs. I'm pulling power and ground from the Music Maker shield as well. The Mega was necessary because of the memory requirements. This board requires a ton of memory to operate, and so I needed some extra I/O ports to do some of the other things that the LCD display needed, or at least so I thought. Up here you'll see the speakers that drive the playback, and yeah, that's the grand tour of what's going on. You may not be able to tell, but I'm gonna get a shot of the Music Maker. This shield actually handles quite a bit of heavy lifting, so there's actually both playback. There's a little amp in here, and you can see in the far corner a little SD card that's used for the music itself. And so it's actually doing quite a bit of heavy lifting here, and in terms of the project is probably the main reason why I ran into some of the integration problems that I did. It's a music playback is a far more complex problem than I originally gave it credit. But that's the basic package. So let's talk about input output. So your main input, of course, is coming in from the potentiometer. Your outputs are the speakers themselves, the LCD display, and the LEDs. The interaction is between the playback and the potentiometer or the sensor itself. The idea being that, of course, the music would be in response to your actual state at the time, and it would be something that could be interrupted, meaning that is your mood improved, that it would, or your mood changed, sorry, that the system would respond with the right stimuli. That was the plan. So what happened? Interestingly, my initial build, let's do this. My initial build just completely died the night before we were to do our demos. In the process of moving it from the bench to the enclosure, something happened and the system just failed to respond. So I had to get a replacement board. That's why I have the Mega, and the system came back up again. But what I found was nothing could be done to recover the functionality of the LCD. For some reason, the LCD would not work with the Music Maker shield. As you noticed during the demo, it flickered a little bit, but it just wouldn't function. So, but just to show you, I'm going to demonstrate here. I'm just going to pull up an example sketch. I use the SPI. So I needed to use digital inputs at one point because of just issues with the number of I/O ports that I had in the original sketch. Just did not give me enough room to be able to do the LCD using I2C. So let me grab the actual I/Os for this. $49, $50, $51. Go ahead and get this guy ready. And of course it's going to jump back into its other routine, but what I want to do is just show you that the LCD actually works. So I just uploaded the Hello World sketch, and there it is, working as designed. I probably spent, I would say, 2 days trying to debug this, using everything in the documentation I could find, but to no avail. I'll talk more about that in my report, but if the question is why in the demo was the LCD not working, good question. Don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching this far. I hope that this at least explains a little bit about what's going on with MoodTuner.